זה מייסר.
נכון.
We'll be starting in just a few minutes. In the meantime, you're welcome to add to your name on the chat where you're watching us from, and also write in the chat names of family members that have perished in the Holocaust. Shalom and good evening to everyone. We're happy to have everyone here with us tonight on our online Zikaron BaSalon event. This event is hosted by ANU, Museum of the Jewish People, Hillel Tel Aviv, and the Tel Aviv University Students Union. My name is Yael Rosen from the museum, and I'm honored to be with you tonight. The Jewish people are not just people of the book. We are people of stories. And our motto at the museum is, you are part of the story. We each have our own personal stories, and that story is part of a story that's much greater than us. Throughout the year, we weave together our personal stories. But today, in this evening, on Yom HaShoah, on Holocaust Remembrance Day, we have the honor to meet with Rina Nudel and hear her special story. This is a countrywide, and actually in more recent years, an international initiative called Zikaron BaSalon. In English, literally known as Memories in the Living Room. And this is it was started as a meaningful way to address and commemorate Holocaust remembrance and also discuss its implications. This year, we spent a lot of time throughout the year in our living rooms, and many of us around the world are still in our living rooms. So this also gives us further thought on what Holocaust remembrance is today and also is now. So right now during our event, we have other meetings of Zikaron BaSalon that we are hosting. Two here in Israel, one with Shosh Esther, who was born in Chodorov, and one with Meir Levintas, who from Kiryat Bialik up north. And for the first time that now everything is online, it is also special for us tonight to host meetings with survivors outside of Israel. And we are very honored to have Rina Nudel with us from New York City. So before we start, and we wanted to light a candle in memory of the 6 million victims of the Holocaust. If you have candles with us, you're welcome to do this with me together. In the background here in Hebrew is the Yizkor prayer that is said today in ceremonies around the world. I'm now honored to invite Yael Herman to share with us this song. Yael, bevakasha.
יש מקום רחוק מלא פרחי בר, מקום קטן עלוב ומשוגע, מקום רחוק, מקום לדאגה. אומרים שם חושבים על כל מה שקרה, אלוהים שם יושב ורואה ושומר על כל מה שברא. אסור לקטוף את פרחי הגן, אסור לקטוף את פרחי הגן, ודואג נורא. השמיים וסוף המדבר, יש מקום רחוק מלא פרחי בר, מקום קטן עלוב ומשוגע, מקום רחוק, מקום לדאגה. אומרים שם השקרה וחושבים על כל מה שקרה, אלוהים שם יושב ורואה ושומר על כל מה שברא. אסור לקטוף את פרחי הגן, אסור לקטוף את פרחי הגן, ודואג נורא.
Thank you, Yael. Toda rabba. Thank you. And I'm now very honored to invite Rina Nudel to share her story with us. I have to say, in the conversations that we had for this evening, I fell in love with Rina, and I'm very excited that we're able to have her here with us and have everyone meet her together online. So thank you, Rina. After we hear Rina, we will also, for anyone who wants, we will split off into small groups to discuss for contemporary discussions on memory and identity and Holocaust remembrance today. So Rina, thank you, and handing this over to you.
I unmute myself. Okay, so hi to everyone. I'm very nervous and excited, and I just want to thank you so much for inviting me. I know everybody knows the story of the Holocaust. I just have to tell you, whenever I speak about it, and I happen to be a gallery educator at the Museum of Jewish Heritage in New York City, and I'm always thinking, we lost 1.5 million children, all the poets, composers, artists, we all lost them. And that always makes me very sad. My story is maybe a little different because I was not in one place, but there are several things. I always make notes, but then I don't know if I pay attention to the notes. But there are some things that are etched in my heart, in my mind, and many times it just comes out of nowhere that these memories are tear provoking, and you never know when and how. Um, I'm here. I wasn't supposed to be here. My mother gave me birth twice, and it is in her honor and in the honor of all the people that cannot speak that I am here to bear witness. I was born in Poland, a youngest of 5 children. So I was a very spoiled in a good way because I was the skinned, the baby. And when we were spared the Nazis till 1947, because as you know, Poland was divided and our part was taken first by the Russian. The Germans entered Lvov. That's where I was born, a beautiful city. And that's when the horror started. And just to tell you, Lvov had a lot of Jewish people, probably maybe 300,000 or maybe more. But going back, I just remember when the Nazis entered the city of Lvov. It's 1947. And I remember seeing from the window of my house Nazi soldiers marching. And you see their shiny boots. You see the rifles with open bayonets. And I looked at the faces of the adults. Children are very perceptive. And a feeling of doom, a feeling of fear, a feeling like your blood turns to ice. I don't know what happened. And this feeling of fear never really leaves you, never left me. And I remember, the life changed immediately from the time the Germans came because they create the Judenrat. I don't know if you know what it is. It's like an association of Jews. And their main thing was to supply lists. Where are Jews? Where are the young people, the older people? And it was nobody really wanted to be on that committee. And I don't remember, but from the stories that I heard from two of my brothers that survived, that there was a rabbi on the committee. I don't know his name, but he committed suicide because he couldn't bear supply lists and stuff to help the Germans. Now, the Nazi machinery was so well organized that their way of killing was really it. Nobody could ever really match it. So they would give documents, people that are young, people that they thought could be helpful in their efforts of the war, because there was a war, they were winning, but there was a war going on. And children and people that were older than 50 would not be provided with any document, so they could be arrested, beaten, killed, whatever, anytime the Nazis wished. My mother and myself, we didn't get the proper documents. My brothers did, my sister, and so did my father. So they had a way, and this is even before the ghetto, they had a way of having actions. Maybe you know what it is, actions, which meant on a random time, whenever they wished, they will go to an area, whatever was in their mind, and surrounded people and send them to certain places, and from there they were shipped to various concentration camps. So going fast forward, we always knew, somehow my brothers knew when an action is to be taking place, because there were rumors. And I remember many times my mother and myself, we would be hiding somewhere because because we didn't have the proper document. But there was one time that it was a surprise. And this I'll never forget. Our apartment house, it's not a big one, was a 3-story building. You hear shouts, rouse, rouse, which means out, out. This was totally unexpected. Our apartment was kind of in the back, and I am petrified. And so is my mom, but she doesn't show anything. She looks quiet and thinking. And she says, Renusha, which was my name in Polish, don't you worry. I speak a perfect German. And I really, they are such cultured people. I don't think, maybe it's not true, all the things that they're telling us about the Nazis. I don't say a word. I'm just holding her hand like if my life depends on it. And it did. And then at one, the shouts stop, but in between, she takes a basin and she puts a couple of sheets with a washing board. I don't know if people know, but at one time we had no washing machines, and there was a washing board that you would use to do the laundry, and a bar of soap. And she says, you see, I'll tell them that they need me, that I have to provide for a family, and the other children are working and all. So, by the way, when I was born, I had already an 18-year-old brother. So I was really like the eye of the family, kind of. And then it's quiet and we relax for a second. And then a knock on the door. And a Nazi with a rifle like the one I saw when they entered Lvov with the open bayonet enters, and behind him, I believe it was a Ukrainian policeman. And mother has not a chance to utter a word. When she wants to say something, I'm holding on to her. She was hit with the butt of the rifle. And rouse, rouse, they keep yelling. And then out of nowhere, I see one of my oldest brothers comes in and he's distraught. And I see he's almost like crying. He tries to take off his watch to bribe the Nazi. He has a bottle of whiskey and he wants to give it, but he was hit and trickles of blood go down his face. And he stands in the kitchen and sorry. And all he says is, Renusha, Mama. And there is nothing he can do. My tall, handsome brother stands there, tears streaming down his face, and there is nothing he can do. He hands us a loaf of round, dark bread, and we proceed to go out of the apartment with the shouts of the Germans behind us. And my mother steps down the steps, she loses a shoe, and somebody hands her the shoe. And we are going with some trucks to a place, it's not a parking, I don't know. Later I realized it was close to the biggest jail in Lvov. And we stayed there for I don't remember how long. And all I'm saying, Mama, what will Heshu say? And I mention all the siblings' name and my father's name. What will they say? What will they say if they come home when we are not there? But she doesn't say anything. We are loaded to trucks and we are going to a camp that was in Lvov. It was not a killing camp. It was a working camp. And the name of this camp was Janowska Lager. From then on, we entered the lager, the camp. And from then on, it's like a nightmare. I don't truly remember, but I do remember. There are reflectors, there are barbed wires, and all of a sudden you see a big heap of small luggage, a heap of glasses, I see I don't know if it was a basket of something with jewelry. And I don't remember, there are reflectors at night and you don't know if it's day or night. I later learned that we were there about 4 or 5 days and there was nothing much to eat. We just ate crumbles of the round bread that my brother gave us, and maybe some water we were given. And all this time in my mind is like a nightmare that I remember fragments, but I don't remember the sequence. All I remember holding always to my mother's hand, just holding her. And I thought, as long as I have my mother, everything will be okay. And then I remember we were crawling. I don't know if she tried to escape. I don't remember exactly. And there is no one beside my mom that is not here anymore to remind me exactly what happened there. It seems on the 5th day, it's in August 1942. I'm 10 years old. I don't see anyone. It's just a beautiful August sunny day. I'm still wearing the little coat, a summer coat that my mother put on me. And from far away, I could see like not a street, like a road. and a group of people standing in that road. And my mom turns me around, points to the group of people, and she said it in Yiddish, because she never spoke to me Yiddish, but I don't know. She just whispered, "Läuf, my Kind," which means "Run, my child." I'm scared. I don't want to let go of her hand, but she literally pushes me, and I obey her. By the time I turn around, I didn't see her anymore. I never saw her since. So here I'm going to this group of people, and they push me, and you can't blame them, because as my mother imagined or thought, that they're about to be released, that they were arrested uh, for some reason that they were not supposed to be arrested, and they have to be released to go back to work. So here I am, and they're afraid. What is this little girl? She can jeopardize our survival. But I just had no place to go, so I'm staying there. And from far, so I see a Nazi holding a big document, a Nazi soldier. No, he must have been an officer, because he had a hat. And next to it is a big watchtowers. And on that watchtower, there is a soldier. I didn't know, but then after I realized he was a Ukrainian, he had a rifle, and he yells to the Nazi, "She's running away, she's running away." And he says it in Ukrainian. And of course, the Nazis, he didn't even hear him. Or maybe if he did, he didn't understand what he was saying. And the people, I just went and walked out of the gates of hell with them. I never saw my mother again. She's like an empty picture in my memory. I don't remember her face. And we have no pictures, because the pictures, while we were running from place to place, were destroyed. Um, I remember her. I remember her being. I remember her goodness, but I don't remember her face. I'm coming out, and all of a sudden, I see my two brothers, the one that gave me the loaf of bread, and a younger Heshu and Mishko. They're the ones, especially the younger one, because of him, whoever the family that survived, we did it because of his courage, but I'll come to it later. So here is this little girl with the light green summer coat, and she asked me, "Renusha, where is mother? Where is mama?" And I didn't cry, and I said, "I don't know," but I didn't cry. My hair, my thin little brown braids were disheveled, and as I learned later, my brothers were there every day, thinking maybe they could do something to get my mother, to get the sister and my mother out. But of course, it was to no avail. But imagine if they wouldn't be there, I wouldn't know how to get home. I had no idea how to get home from that Janowska lager. And they take me home. The basin with the laundry is still there. And I I don't remember too much, but I know and I was told that I wasn't crying. Only after days and days, I started to cry. And then it was hard to stop. But as all children are basically a little selfish. And I remember thinking, so who will take care of me now? Who will send me to the store? Who will comb my hair? That's what I was thinking. But eventually, I stopped crying because a few months after that, we were supposed to move to the ghetto. And all I remember from the ghetto was we got an apartment. I know exactly, I remember the address. And there were 3 or 4 families, and all you had there was beds. There was nothing else, in a small kitchen. And from the window of the apartment that we were in, you could see railroad tracks. It was like on a subway, an elevated track running through, and we could see trains. And I remember many times we would see trains, not apparently, they were the trains that carried people to the various camps, because they had like cattle cars, and they had little windows with barbed wires. But beside that, that was also that was also a passage, a train passage for other trains as well. And I'll come to it later, why it is important that we were able to see from the window of ghetto the train tracks, like on a little bridge. We had to move to the ghetto. Yes, so we did that. And in the ghetto was, mother was not around. One brother that his wife was taking away at the same action that myself and my mother were taking away. So they're gone. My brother, we were told, my brother told us, the oldest one that was married already, he went back to his wife family. He was so distraught, losing a mother and a wife at the same time, that he had a nervous breakdown, and he felt he has to go to see the family of his wife, because maybe he'll have some more pictures of his wife. Later we learned that all these people, that was a small city next to Lvov, Kamionka, they were all shot. So here in the ghetto is my 2 brothers, my sister, and my father. My father had a heart condition, and one night he gets very sick. And from my bed, I see his bed. And my older brother, Tzvi Heshu, runs to bring the doctor. And I see my father, that it's very difficult for him to breathe. Now, as a registered nurse, I'm retired registered nurse. I know exactly he had what they call, now I know, pulmonary edema, and it's very easily treated with an injection. But by the time the doctor came, my father was gone. But I remember asking him, Doctor, please, please don't die. But he did. And as strange as it may be, he was considered a tzaddik because he was able to die in his own bed, and his son were able to bury him, but we couldn't find the grave later. So now in the ghetto, it's my sister, two brothers, and myself. And everybody knew by that time that, there isn't a chance to survive in the ghetto. And there were people there that learned how to forge documents. And there was one person, especially very gifted, that knew how to do it. And my younger brother, Michael, saw a advertising in a newspaper that there are people needed to work behind the ghetto parts, and they are needed to, especially in the Ukraine, where was captured at that time, the Germans were there, they are needed for very important war efforts. And my brother Michael decided to take the chance and to do something, because my brothers especially, probably my sister too, I didn't have too much to do with it, but they decided that they have to do something. They're not just going to wait till the Nazis come and kill us one way or another. So this younger brother, Michael, he takes off his they were wearing in Lvov, a white armband with the blue Magen David. He takes it off and somehow gets out of the ghetto and goes to this address. And he says he loves the German, he wants to volunteer and travel to wherever he could help the German army. And I don't know how to tell you how dangerous the trip was without the armband, walking at the streets of Lvov, where the Poles knew how to detect the Jew. I don't know, they just knew who is Jewish, but how brave my brother was. He goes to this specific office, and he gets a document a travel document that they will let him go to Dnipropetrovsk, to Ukraine. And he comes back, and we decided that he will travel and he will be the first one to somehow find a way to escape this hell. And he's leaving, escaping the ghetto at night, waiting till dawn, going to where he's supposed to go. And he told us, the way you'll know that I succeeded to board the train is I will take my hands out of the window and I'll wave, and you will know, because that was a regular train. It wasn't that had to pass by. And here we are looking from the window. We knew the time he will pass by, and we saw his hands waving, and we knew he made it. He made the most dangerous part, to go to escape the ghetto, and go and board the train that would take him to Ukraine. He succeeded, and while in Dnipropetrovsk, which is a city in Ukraine, And Ukraine, remember, is captured at the time by the Germans. He works in the hospital for wounded German soldiers. He befriends a Russian fellow that is he just works, an older man, and he lets him steal 2 German uniforms. And um, I don't remember exactly, but the brothers had a way to be in touch through some Christian people that lived, their friends that lived in Lvov. And the plan was to come dressed as German soldiers. And here I'll show you a picture. And take me and my sister. But that was the plan, but plans don't always, you know, you plan and then other things happen. Okay, meanwhile, um, my my sister and my brother and myself, we have to escape the ghetto as well. And it's because that's how we can board the train and continue with the plan of escaping. So after a few months, I think we were a few months in the ghetto. It's 4 a.m. in the morning. We crawl under a gate and we come out, and we have to wait because we cannot enter the city during at night. But all this was prearranged with my brothers and coordinated with some good friends in the city that were helpful. But all I remember, it's a December, it's very cold and snowy, and we crawl under the barbed wire and we find a ditch. My brother, Hesho, lays down and takes me on top of him so I won't feel the cold. And my sister is next to us. We are successful in entering the city of Lvov early in the morning and going to a friend of my brother's, not a Jew. He lets us stay for 2 days, and then I don't know how, but my brother arranged that we can go back to our apartment. And the super of this apartment that we lived, and she was in the basement, and she would hide us. We are hiding there, and it was very hard because every time she was afraid that somebody might find us, she would just tell my sister, myself, just go. It wasn't her fault, but she was afraid. So we would have to walk the streets. And one time while walking, a secret Polish police calls us in and says, we know you're Jewish, but we will just let you go. But mean, and then one night we couldn't come home, and so we just hid. We went to a place where they um, give up work for daily workers, and we stayed there overnight. And there were rats and scary, and we just had nowhere to go. So we stayed there, and early in the morning, they opened the doors, and we were able to go back to the Christian woman that agreed to hide us. It's, I have to skip a lot, but um, yes, I just want to digress. In the house that we lived, we had a small little synagogue. They called it the Shtibel. And that synagogue had a lot of Torah scrolls. And when we came to this super, the Christian woman, all we see it on her walls were this spread the Torah scrolls, because it was very cold. She didn't do it out of meanness, but it was a very, the Torah is printed on a special paper, and it kept a little bit the apartment warm. So that was also something I'll never forget. You go in and you see a scroll, you see like wallpaper, only it's the scroll of the Torah. What happens meanwhile is, the sanitary conditions were not the best, and there was typhus ramping. A lot of people were sick, and my sister gets sick with typhus. The super, she gets sick. Everybody is sick. Only Rina stays well. Nothing happens to me. I'm the caregiver of my sister. And meanwhile, I know it may sound confusing. My brothers came with a German uniform and they want to take us, but my sister is so ill that she cannot do it. And they want to take me, but I don't know, for some reason I felt very empowered, and I said, no, I have to stay with Dana. I have to take care of her. I was the only one, as I mentioned, that wasn't sick. So the initial plan had to be scratched, and I'm staying with my sister until she gets a little better, because there were no medicine really for typhus. And so she gets better. My brothers come back. She dyes her hair blonde. She can barely walk because she still is sick from the typhus that she had. But somehow, when you have to do something, you do it. We are boarding a train. My brothers are in the German uniforms, but they don't, we don't know each other, because they're boarding the train back to Dnipropetrovsk in the regular train with other soldiers. My sister and myself, we are placed in a train with just soldiers, and the thing is, she is a translator, and I'm her sister, and we are going for a little vacation to visit a family that is working for the German soldiers. And that's a funny episode. My sister, since the soldiers knew that she's a translator, it's just miracles. And somebody hands her a letter. And she looks at the letter. She had no idea what the letter says, but quick thinking when you have to survive. And she just made up the whole letter, thinking, well, what can a young woman write to a soldier? I miss you. Whatever it was, the soldier was pleased. And I don't know how my sister did it, but she did. We are getting to Dnipropetrovsk, and my brothers are working, and everything seems okay. I say my brothers are renting a house with a Russian woman. And even though she knew that I don't know if she knew that we are Jewish, but she knew that something is funny. But she hated the Germans because her husband was in the war. And so she let us rent part of the house, and she had 2 children. And we are thinking that everything is okay. But then in the city of Dnipropetrovsk, somebody recognizes my brother, because there are other Polish people that really wanted to work there. And he is arrested by the Gestapo. And this Russian heroine, I don't know, she heard it and somehow she was able to hide all the things, like somebody that, like, nobody lives there, and she even sent me to her sister. So when the Gestapo comes and looks at the apartment, there will be no notice of any residents that live there. I'm skipping a lot of things, but somehow, while staying in this Pasha, the heroine, the Russian heroine, in her sister's apartment, I know that my brother is arrested and he's again with the Nazis. And that was really, I felt like the end of the world, because one more person, a very dear one, is gone. And I just remember crying again, crying and sobbing. And there was certain music playing in this Russian woman's house. I bought the record of that song. It's called The Little Blue Handkerchief. It was very well known song during World War II. I think there is the end of the world, really, because all my siblings, my sister and my brother, and they had to run away from the city because they were worried that they'll be discovered as well. So here I'm scared that I'm all alone again. But again, a miracle happened. And this I'm saying very quickly. My brother succeeded to escape by an unbelievable story. He's telling the guardian on the prison that he has a lot of money hidden somewhere. And if he will go with him, if he will let him, he will share with him or give him all the money. Of course, we had no money. And somehow my dear brother was able to escape. And then I heard that he escaped. Again, I saw him because the Russian woman took me to see him, and I saw his shaved face, but I saw my brother, and I don't know, probably one of the happiest days in my life. I'll never forget how I saw his face and I knew he's alive. I have to make it short again. We are traveling with forged documents, and I have a different name. My name is Halinka, and I am a Catholic, a Polish Catholic, and we finally come to Bucharest, and really I make it quite short. And that was at Bucharest, that's 1945 beginning. Not, the war is not ending, but the Germans are leaving Romania and the Russians are entering. And for some reason, all of these people come, and my brothers were suspected that they are spies, and they are arrested again. And I forgot to mention that Heshu, one of my brothers, was married already. So he has a pregnant wife, and we are arrested as well. And everybody is interrogated in a separate way. And they interrogate me. So I'm by that time, and they say, your brother said that they're Jews. I said, I don't know what my brother said. And I knew how to cross myself, how to say a prayer. And whatever they say, I'm not Jewish. And my name is so-and-so. I kept repeating until I started to cry. So I guess they felt sorry and they let me go. we got in touch with in Romania. I'm really cutting it because the story is way too long. In Romania, we get in touch with the Jewish organization by the name of Gordonia, and they arrange certificates for us to be able, so we can come to Israel. And it's a long story again. We stay about, I would say, almost a year, no, less than that, in Romania, in a little city. And here again, I from YMCA, and there is a teacher there. And after really going to first grade, and that's the second time that I get a little schooling and writing. And so I'm reminded a little bit how to write, how to do some arithmetic, because after first grade, I never went to school again. So finally, I just want to make it short. We are in Romania, and finally we get the certificate and we board the train to go to Bulgaria. And I came to Israel in a different way. We came by train. After being detained in Bulgaria for 2 months, we finally go to Turkey. We cross the Bosphorus, and I come to Israel by train through Syria, Lebanon to Atlit. And in Atlit, I know some people have bad memories, but I don't remember it as a bad memory. I think we were greeted well, and my brother, Mishko, Michael, we even had we put up a little play. And finally, we had some relatives. I come to Haifa. And here I want to tell you, after being afraid, after being scared, I feel free. I see the beautiful sky of Israel. It was January, but it was the weather was amazing. And the blue ocean, and Haifa is so pretty. And I think I must be in paradise. I think I am in paradise. I think it's not real. I don't know if anybody could ever, if you could imagine, yes, you just, the colors, the sky, because we went to an apartment on the Rehov Hillel. Maybe you don't, I don't know if you know Haifa, but beside Jerusalem, that's the prettiest city. And here I am in Israel. It's 1945. The war didn't finish quite. And I want to tell you, when we came to Israel, my brothers had some friends in Israel. And when they would tell what we went through, not everybody believed. They were thinking, Emichasbetim. I don't know. That's a Hebrew word. I don't know how to translate it. But they have like imagination, not really. It didn't really happen. And when I came to Israel, I didn't want to be the diaspora, Yaldata Shoah. I wanted to be like a Sabra, which I was not. But that was my aim. I went to a kibbutz, Mishmar HaEmek, which was a very lefty kibbutz. And I was the only, I didn't speak Hebrew. They thought that they're putting me in one of the best schools, which was at that time for the kibbutz, but it was a horror for me because I wasn't like a Sabra. I didn't know the language, but I was given a special teacher. And believe it or not, within 3 months, I spoke probably, but I was able to communicate. But can you imagine in the school, they're teaching me Tanakh. And I'm sitting like a dummy, but this went over again. And I think I'll stop here and I will leave some questions. I don't know, maybe the story seems a little confusing. Well, it's not confusing to me, but it's long. If I went to all the details, it would be way too long.
Rina, thank you. You're amazing, and you have the ability to share from your story with such detail and such emotion that I think that touched me so deeply. And I'm sure so many of us here, I see people from around Israel and also in different places, and I see a few faces on different screens, and I was watching the emotions, and I think you really touched us so deeply. So thank you. And now we would like to open this up to everyone on the call here.
Oh my goodness, I spoke too long.
You did not speak too long at all. Thank you. Thank you for this. And I would like to, if we could actually have another few minutes with you. And if anyone would like to ask a question, you can write on the chat, but you're also able to unmute yourselves now. So maybe even better to press unmute so we can hear you. You can introduce yourself, where you're from, and ask Rina any question you would like.
Yeah. I'll say, hi, I'm Eden. I just want to start by saying thank you so much for sharing your story. It was incredible. I don't know if you were watching us, but we got emotional and we were so invested, and thank you so much. I think my one question is, it says on your name that you're in New York City. How did you end up in New York, and how did you?
The Sabra.
Yeah.
I married in Israel, and I went to nursing school, and I because I always was interested in medicine, and so we lived in Israel for I was about 13, 14 years in it. Yeah, so at one point, life has its ways and tribulation. My husband, the Sabra, he's the one, forgive me, Ari, he's not around anymore, but he was always an Israeli, but somehow there was a time that he thought he wants to come to America. So my Sabra, the husband, took me out of Israel. And I came to America with a 18-month-old baby. And I am, that's what happens now. I have 2 children and 8 grandchildren. And I have a revenge. Hitler didn't do what he wanted to do.
Yeah. Thank you, Rina.
Thank you so much. That's incredible. Amazing.
I don't know. Were you able to follow what I said?
Yes, completely. Yes, definitely.
Any other questions or comments for Rina? Feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourselves. Olivia and Hannah? Yeah. Wait, we can't hear you? Okay. I see that you're trying to ask a question, but I can't hear you. So feel free to write on the chat. Okay, great. Okay, so Rina, Olivia and Hannah are in Tel Aviv. Their microphone isn't working, so I'm going to ask the question that they write on the chat right now. So 1 second. If anyone else would like to ask in the meantime or share something, feel free.
I'll just share a comment. I don't have a question, but I'm hearing you say, oh, was it too long? Did it make sense? And we were saying we would have listened to you for hours more. What you were speaking about was so moving, and it really did, it was comprehensible and heavy and hard to hear, and also so followable and important. So thank you, and you did a wonderful job speaking.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Sure. And Olivia, I didn't get your chat yet, but Libat, you raised your hand?
So Rina, first of all, you need to unmute yourself again. Okay. And my question is, my great grandpa said that she, after the Holocaust coming to Israel, building a family, she all her life hated snow, literally hated, strong feeling with snow. Even when we told her we had a family tour, she said, don't talk to me about snow. And she loved oranges. Do you have some things that you really love or you really hate throughout life due to the experience?
So, one thing I want to tell you, I hated hummus when I first tasted it in Israel. And when we traveled, on the way, I don't know, there were some policemen, I think they were Australian, they were African American, and they gave us olives, and an olive was very big, and I thought it was a plum because I don't remember eating olives in Poland or something. So that was there. But what I love, but now I love hummus. I love falafel, and I just love, when I visit Israel, I just love it. It always somehow feels to me like a cloud of love. And the reason that I maybe wasn't as scarred, or maybe I was, my siblings were incredibly loving, incredibly caring. And I think this love sustained me. And if I speak to young people, I think of two things. I think love and education. Nobody could ever take it away from you.
Rina, you mentioned also that you're a museum educator, and I think we would love to have you here at our museum as well.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, unfortunately, I'm the only sibling that is alive. I'm in very close contact. I have three nieces and two nephews, and they always call me. And let me tell you, they really, they were very helpful during the pandemic, and very helpful, to help with missing my husband, the Sabra. He immigrated, but he was a Sabra. If there is a Sabra, that was him. Tough outside and soft inside. And he loved telling stories to his grandchildren about Israel, about, I just want to show you his picture. He was very handsome. And I have a little book about him. Can you see?
Yep, we can see there.
So Ari was telling, he participated in the Independence War, and he used to talk about the War of Independence. He also used to say that he feels bad if he ever killed somebody, and he was thinking that wars are so terrible, and hate is so terrible. But I don't know. Maybe one day we'll have peace and we'll love everybody.
Amen. Hannah, I think you guys got your audio working. Yes.
Hopefully. Hi, thank you so much. My name's Hannah. I'm also from New York. And this was so meaningful, and I'm so grateful that you're here with us. My grandparents are Holocaust survivors, and they recently passed away. So to have this first Yom HaShoah without them and to be able to hear from you is incredible. And they actually got married in Israel and then went to New York, similar to you. And I guess my question is, my mom's whole life, she really wanted to go back to Auschwitz with her mother, and see where they came from. And she was very resistant. And it wasn't until she had grandchildren that we finally went back to Ukraine to see where they were from. And it was only just a few months before she passed away that we actually all went to Auschwitz together. So I guess I'm curious to hear if you ever went back to Poland or went with your family.
I had a family trip, and we went back to Lvov to see the place that I was born, and I also went to the memorial of Belzec, which is incredible, very moving. Now, Belzec, there were no survivors, and I was told that the tracks there were very high, so people just had to jump, and it was very moving to go to our apartment, to look at the window where I saw how the Nazis came. But still, I don't know why. There was a time that I didn't like the language, the Yiddish language. I transformed. I somehow, I never liked to be seen as a victim. Like, to me, because I don't like, in a way it felt degrading, like, oh, you're a refugee, like it's something. But maybe I'm wrong this way. I don't know. Maybe I'm just proud. I feel that my family accomplished so much, that my children are so accomplished, and so are my grandchildren. They have higher education, and I always said I don't want to be known, and maybe corrected. I just want to be known as Rina, not only as a Holocaust survivor. That's somehow, yeah, I don't know. Maybe something wrong with me this way.
Oh, sense. You want to be you first. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be known as Rina, the mother, the Sapta. Yeah, by the way, my grandkids call me Sapta, not grandma. The others are grandmas, I'm Sapta.
Thank you so much. It was such an honor to hear from you.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Rina. And I'm curious, Rina, if your story, is that something that, did you always share memories from that time, or is this something more recent for you?
When I retired from nursing, a friend of mine introduced me to the Museum of Jewish Heritage. And I guided children, to tell them about the Holocaust, not saying my story, but generally, but they always ask here and there. So I would say, as a retiree, being connected with the Museum of Jewish Heritage in New York, I think it made my retirement, because it was very fulfilling. I'm still in touch with them. Of course, the museum is closed, now partially open. And when Ari wasn't feeling well, I couldn't go and do tours, but I think that was second to being a nurse that I'm proud of. I'm really proud of being a gallery educator at the Museum of Jewish Heritage. So it's not a big museum, but it's big enough to tell the story. You can't keep kids too long, after an hour they have enough. But so that's just, I even had the honor of of giving a tour to Rabbi Lau. Rabbi Lau, yes. I gave him a tour and I did it in Hebrew.
So I want to say thank you, Rina. And when we asked Rina to speak today, she actually said she could speak in English or in Hebrew, which is really amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, I think in English probably. I don't say it many times in Hebrew, so maybe in English it was a little easier.
Thank you. Before we show something we prepared for Rina, I wanted to ask if there's anyone else that I can't see everyone on the screen right at once, so feel free to unmute yourselves or write in the chat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. Yes. So first of all, Rina, thank you so much for talking with us. It's been incredible to hear your story. My name's Daniel. I'm here in Nazareth. You talked about after the war going to Haifa and how incredibly different that was, right? And how that was kind of, you know, heaven or paradise compared to what you had been through, and kind of that difference. Did you ever talk to your siblings, your brothers and sisters, and what moments do you remember that they had that were kind of?
I don't think, you know, it's a good question. I don't think I ever told them. No, I did tell, you know, my nieces, my nephews, but I don't think I ever expressed it to my older siblings. I am, no, I didn't. I didn't, no. And also in the museum, no, I don't have too much of a chance to say, but I'll never forget that feeling. It felt incredible. It really did.
So what did
You're
your
in Nazareth? Yeah, but so you're not far, no. Yeah, you're not far from
What are you guys doing in Nazareth?
I'm sorry?
We're teaching here, teaching English, like a few other people I can see on this program. And yeah, we actually had visited Haifa earlier today, in fact, and it is gorgeous. What did your siblings do after? So you said
my siblings after the war, they came to Israel. Two of my brothers worked in the Chevrat Chashmal, the electric company, and my sister worked, you know, she worked as a seamstress, and then she married and went to Netanya. By the way, there was no visit to Israel without going to Netanya and the beautiful garden that, you know, is Tayelet, right? And you could see the Mediterranean. I miss it, my goodness. I miss it. I used to travel to Israel when my siblings were alive every year. And then, you know, you get older, it's a long trip. So I haven't been in Israel in the past 5 years. And now with the pandemic, but I'm vaccinated. So, and I also made sure that I know the history of the person that did the Moderna. And he, you know, he has, I think he's, I know he is a son of a Holocaust survivors from Greece. Okay, I'm not answering the phone.
Awesome. Thank you.
Rina,
Hi.
yeah, Tamar, go for it. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Good evening in Israel, and I think it's good afternoon and good morning in New York. I'm Tamar Sorek. I work for Masa, and I'm very happy to see many Masa participants on this call from Bina. Rina, you might know that many of the participants listening and that were very inspired by your story right now came from around the world to Israel for a year to teach English in different schools, mostly elementary schools in the periphery of Israel. We have some programs in Haifa, but not people joining on this call. But this is very much appreciated because most of them also made a journey. Thankfully, not on the terms that you did, but they did move this year and they did travel, and they took responsibility. And I think this is part of also what we want to also thank you. What we are having on our end on Masa is actually taking responsibility of memory. And everyone who joined this conversation to hear your story chose actively to go online and to meet you and to learn your story and to hear about you and to be able to take all of your memories and thoughts and initiatives forward. So we appreciate this very much. And thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for listening. You know, there was a time that I thought, since I was not in Auschwitz or, Treblinka and all the various camps, so I thought that I didn't suffer enough, or that I have no right to tell the story. And it was until we have something that we call witness theater. I think it came from Israel as well. And there was this incredible young woman, and sounds like she said, you do have a story. And then I was thinking, my goodness, losing a mom, a brother, sister-in-law, a father, that's not a story. Like, at one point I was thinking that only people that stayed in camps for a long time, that they have a story. And I was always worried that I can't say it enough to make it like comprehensible. But if I did, I'm grateful.
You definitely did. And we thank you for sharing your story, but also sharing Rina and sharing who you are and your personality. And we really hope that, first of all, we can welcome you in person. This was such an amazing opportunity to meet online and to have this discussion with you. But we invite you here when we are all back into traveling. But really, thank you for this opportunity and bringing together so many people, so many places. Many of us are in Israel, but we come from all over the world, and I think are really taking your story with us as a real inspiration and able to share that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Yael. I have a question. Was this recording, is there any way I can get it?
Yes, it's recorded and we'll be happy to send it to you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And you promised it was well understood. It made sense.
Yes,
it was amazing, Rina. We appreciate it so much.
So much.
Rina, we made sure to take some pictures, especially of who shared this time with us, who was part of the group, and we'll send it right over with WhatsApp these days. With COVID-19, I know you have WhatsApp.
Yes.
So you'll see for yourself behind the screen, because I know you didn't see everybody, that you would know who shared with you this story, this amazing hour.
Thank you so much. Thank you, really, Yael, Michaela, and whoever made it possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rina. We're not here in person, but we do have a little small certificate that we made for you in Hebrew for thanking you for
thank you.
Which we'll send over. It'll be a bit more impressive when you receive it in the mail. But also to thank this opportunity to thank you, and also I wanted to thank Yael Herman from the Tel Aviv University who's saying, and for our team at ANU, for the Museum of the Jewish People, for Michaela, for Lindsay, Libat for co-hosting this. Thank you, Toda Rabba, and also our partners at Hillel Tel Aviv University and at the Students' Union who made this evening happen. But most of all, thank you, Rina, and thank you.
You're welcome. Who is the lady I should look up in Google that you say she looks like me?
Leah Koenig. I'll send it to you via WhatsApp. I
Oh,
promise. Leah Koenig.
yes.
I will write it to you. I promise.
Leah
Okay.
Koenig is a famous Israeli
It's
actress.
amazing.
And yeah. So thank you. Toda rabba.
תודה רבה לכם. תודה. לכולם, והלוואי שיהיה שלום.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rina. I'm gonna leave this open for another minute. Anyone is welcome to stay on or sign off in about a minute and a half. We'll open this up for more discussion about thoughts after Rina's talk, about impressions, and also sharing a bit about Holocaust memory in different communities where we all are from. So feel free to stay on. Rina, you're welcome, of course, to stay on.
Yes, of course.
And thank you. Thank you to all. Introduce yourself and say where you're from, and also any thought or also past experience about Holocaust memory in the community where you come from.
Are you waiting for somebody to speak? Yes.
So yeah, maybe I'm going to ask Wilson. Do you want to start?
No. I spoke enough.
No, so I'm going to hand this over. Wilson, do you want to start? Introduce yourself and share. There you go.
Hi, I'm Wilson. I'm originally from Kansas City, Kansas, and I'm here in Israel right now, along with a lot of other people here to teach English to students here in Israel. I'm good.
Thank you.
I can go next, yeah. I'm Pnina. I'm originally from Israel, now currently in Tel Aviv. And I'll say that this project of Zikaron BaSalon that we had our community joining tonight with you, Rina, is one close to my heart. I used to do it quite a lot with my communities that I worked in the States, bringing Holocaust survivors to speak to different young adults and communities and listen to the stories. And I'm so grateful for you to share your story with us tonight. It was very inspiring, I can say, from a personal point of view. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Nina.
I guess we'll go next. Hi, I'm Daniel. As before, I asked one of the questions earlier. And next to me.
Hi, I'm Rochelle. So both of us are Masa English teaching fellows. So we're here for the year to teach English to kiddos.
And
we're both from South Florida, where there's kind of a sizable Jewish population. So at least from my upbringing, like I got the opportunity to hear from multiple Holocaust survivors and get Holocaust education growing up. I don't know Daniel's experience.
Yeah, I had ironically enough, I had the same education, but there's a lot of, my family was both fortunate and unfortunate because we fled Russia during the fall of the Tsar. So we ended up missing the Holocaust. And there's kind of just thinking about it, there's kind of a cruel irony in, being thankful to flee Tsarist Russia.
With my family, with my family on my grandma's side, so my great grandma, half of her siblings, including her, were able to flee and come to the States. The other half stayed behind in Ukraine. And we just kind of assumed they all died because there was no way of knowing. And then through Ancestry, we, like 3 years ago, found out that most of them survived. And some of them actually live in Israel. So I have cousins here who I've stayed with and met, which is way cool that they didn't die. But yeah,
So
that's
that's
it.
us.
I can go next. My name is Lynn. I'm from Israel. I want to thank you again. I know everyone has already thanked you, but it was really amazing. And I got so many texts during like when you spoke from our participants about how amazing this experience is. So thank you again. I want to share that what you said about your story is really relevant for my family. So first of all, in my family, they never share the stories. They always thought that the right thing to do will be to not talk about the horrors and what happened. And my grandparents started to pass us more information in the recent years. But my grandfather always says that his Holocaust story is not sexy enough to be told to other people. So I can really relate to what you said from my side of the family. But thank you again.
Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name's Zach. I'm from Boston. And yeah, I guess I have some family from Ukraine and Russia. Some of them made it, and some of them did not. But I think this is, a great opportunity. Probably the most personable I've gotten with a Holocaust survivor. And, I hate giving you that label, Rina. I'm sure there's way more to you. And I'm, looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better. But yeah, especially on a day like this, being Holocaust Remembrance Day in Israel, I think it's extremely important to talk about and to make sure that people don't forget of what has happened.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Libat, did you want to?
Yeah, so first of all, Rina, I was really touched when you said it's almost like my grandma when you said this is our revenge. The son and daughters and grandsons, and that's what she said. She said, the Nazis didn't want me to be here. Look, I have a shevet, I have a tribe. So that kind of touched my heart. And also regarding memory, I'm in my 40s. I know many people here are way younger than me, from Boston, from New York, from all over. Growing up in Israel, I was a sabra, like Avi. Seriously, like the normal Israeli sabra. And when I was raised up in the Sofim, in the Israeli Scout ceremony, and in our school, it was very by the book. You would have a candle, you would have kind of like 5 or 6 songs. It was a ceremony. You should wear white and you should be very, very quiet to respect. And that's it. To be passive, to be very quiet and be polite, and that's it. And in my my kids' generation, I see it's less emphasized on the ceremony, more about talk to people. Talk to grandma, talk to the second generation, talk to their kids, ask questions, laugh. If you are embarrassed, be embarrassed. So talking about memory, I would say this is something that I really feel had changed.
Yeah, that's important. It's anything you do, it's just important to show the emotion. Yeah. Do I never know, like I said, when the emotion strikes you. And the sadness of not remembering a face.
I want to say, Rina, when you said that about saying that you remember your mother being, and you remember that, but not the face, that's something that was etched in my memory from this talk with you.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Yeah. I remembered her being.
I wanted to ask here, just maybe open a question here. There are different days during the year that mark Holocaust memory. Here in Israel, that is today, Yom HaShoah is the main day. In the past years, the International Holocaust Memorial Day of January 27th
Right.
is more and more widespread in sometimes more religious circles. So the fast of the 10th of Tevet is also a day that is a memory day for people that we don't know where they're buried, and also has Holocaust memory to this. And I'm also curious, when we just have a few of us come from different areas, and I'm wondering, how were these days, how were these days marked? Were they marked in a general ceremony? Were they marked in a more personal way, like this way we're able to talk one-on-one? I'd be curious to hear some experiences, and also your thoughts on what touches people. Yeah.
Are you asking me?
You can start. Yes.
No. I think I really think that the way it's done now, I would tell you, you could tell stories about the Holocaust, about 6 million and so on and so forth. But I remember just telling, when I would end the tour in the museum, and a part of it is probably a little boring to 13, 14-year-old, but I'll always finish it with the set, if you forget anything, remember Rina, because in this way you remember what the Holocaust was, that somebody that denies, and they'll tell you, yeah, it's just stories. So you'll remember that somebody that was there told you the story. So if you just remember this, that's enough.
The person, the face, the personal connection.
Right.
Thank you. Other memories from this day or thoughts, if you would like to? Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to have Holocaust education throughout my life, and actually I live next to the Central Florida Holocaust Center, right? So a whole center dedicated to, this conversation and the impacts and presence that it has had. And so I've been fortunate enough to hear many of these stories, and I always am still amazed by the level of personality and independence, right? I mean, we talk about Holocaust remembrance, right? But I've never heard, it kind of has led me to a belief that there isn't one Holocaust insofar as there's a survivor, right? I mean, everyone has their own experiences of it, their own history, their own losses, and their own survival, right? And so that's what still amazes me, is just how the level of and diversity of survivors almost means that there isn't one Holocaust on its own, at least for me.
That's true.
I can say that my family comes from the former Soviet Union, so for us, May 9th is also a day of celebration, of celebrating the the win over the Nazis. And the guys in Nazareth, you'll see there's like a huge show, and it's a big event where there are big Russian communities in Israel until today.
Hannah, you mentioned that you have a family connection and grew up with this. How is this day for you with a more public sphere, with the community or with the school?
Hi, yeah, sorry, there's a little bit of background noise. I think it was really special for me once I got to college, and I was part of a community that didn't have a big Jewish population when I went to study, that I could often be a representative of my family and our story. And it was obviously a big responsibility, but it felt really special that I guess could then, now carry the torch as my grandparents are no longer living.
I think that for me, I think this connection between the personal and the public is something that's really it always goes with me. I mean, we want to remember the stories and we want to remember what happened, but I think we also want to remember the people. And I really thank you, Rina, for mentioning like your memories when you came to Haifa and what that was, and that you hated hummus and that you thought the olive was a plum, because I think that also brings, it's right. We're talking about people and we're talking about, and those are the things that we're able to hear from you. And we're not able to hear that when you read a historical book. It's just not there. And that's something that always I'm struck in these types of discussions. So thank you for bringing that to us. And I also want to thank everyone here for your questions and participation throughout the evening, and also now in bringing these voices. I think we're starting this evening of Holocaust Remembrance Day, and we have tomorrow, and then next week we go into Yom HaZikaron and the Day for Fallen Soldiers, and Yom HaAtzmaut, Independence Day, and it's a very, very intense time here in Israel that in a way started from last week, from Passover. And I think really, Rina, you gave us a lot to think about and to share, and so we want to thank you for that, and thank everyone here for doing that. So I want to wish everyone stay healthy and safe, and toda rabba. Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
תודה רבה, רינה.
Thank you.
את
תודה
פשוט
רבה.
מלכה. תודה.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.